Hi folks, so sorry to interrupt the conversations. We did find a hearing aid out in the audience, so if you or someone you know that may not be able to know what I'm saying is missing a hearing aid, We have it right up here for you. Thank you.
A round of applause for our trombone section back there. gonna turn myself over to get Noel over here. So before we play our last number, I promised I wasn't going to talk, but I just have to say that this group, Tony and I started this group after the community band, the concert band had started. Tony and I got our heads together and said, why don't we start a jazz band too? So that's what we did. And through the years, we've had different members for this jazz band. At one point, it was called the Volare Jazz Band because it had two Italian guys running it. So I wanted to really get the Volare Jazz Band. So since then, we've grown out of the Italian thing. And so this is what we have. And Tony and I used to conduct this band, and Tony used to play bass, even though Tony was a saxophone player. So this is what we have. So thank you to Tony for the foresight to even say, let's do a jazz band. So we are going to finish up our part of this program with one more number called Fun Time, which is what we hope this is going to be for the rest of the day. trumpet back there, Nick Recchi. Tara Hector on alto saxophone. Paulie on baby sax. Nick on tenor sax. All right, thank you very much. We are going to exit the stage so that we can get going with the rest of the program.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Timberlane Performing Arts Center. Please take this time to turn off all electronic devices. Refrain from using flash photography, and no food or drink are allowed in the auditorium during performances. Fire regulations strictly prohibit standing in the aisles during performances. And now we are pleased to bring you tonight's performance.
Thank you so much and welcome. My name's Kurt Schweiss. I'm the Director of Music in the Performing Arts Center, and I am honored to welcome all of you here this afternoon for this celebration and this dedication. Unfortunately, Tony is not able to join us in person. Here are his children, Angela, Anthony, and Andrew. They are with us. But I do know that Tony is watching and listening. Tony is able to watch and listen via Zoom. So at this time, if you are able, I do invite you to stand and celebrate Mr. Tony DiBartolomeo. At this time, I'd like to invite Mr. John Mainella to the podium for some opening remarks.
I'm so happy to see so many old faces here. Not old faces, but you know what I mean. All I can say is that it's been, Tony, I know you're watching, and as I told him the other day when I saw him, il mio amico, my best friend. And it's just an honor for me to be here and to honor him with this beautiful room. And that's all I can say. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We thought it appropriate to honor Mr. D with some music. So that the adults, sorry, I guess I have to say that they're not my students anymore. The adults that performed a minute ago we're going to call them the Timberlane All-Stars. All of us were students of Mr. D, and all of us are teaching students at the moment. So the folks that you just heard on the stage behind you, obviously the community band was before that group. How about a big hand for the community jazz band, please? I thought why don't you guys come out? We're gonna play one more piece, and I thought I would just share, since they're the Timberlane All-Stars. I was a student of Mr. D's. First, I was a student teacher back in 1989, so I'm student number one. Thank you very much. Justin Ouellette's playing violin. He's 2006. Bill Jones was a student intern. He's from 99. He was here. Nolan Hennessy, 2017. Eric, what year was Eric? Graduate, yeah. 2007. Chris and Nick? 2002. Okay, and Jimmy on bass, 2004. Mr. Cronin on trumpet, 2011. Mr. LaFoley on piano, 2013. And we have Mr. Lorenz, who's student taught here just recently in 2019 and is now on our faculty. So all Mr. D students and all teachers at the moment. So we're going to do one more quick number before we roll on, because what is any celebration of Mr. DeBartolomeo without his students playing? So here, ladies and gentlemen, is an appropriate tune, There'll Never Be Another You. the Timberlane All-Stars. At this time, we'd like to bring Brian Stack up to the microphone. Brian Stack is currently superintendent of schools in the Fremont district, and he's the president of the Timberlane Music Association, and he's a past member of the Timberlane School Board. He's an all-around great guy, but I remember him in 8th grade band in 1992. And I have some stories for later. Brian Stack.
I didn't know where he was going with that, but thank you, Mr. Clark. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here. Thank you to the DeBartolomeo family for asking me to MC today's event. This is gonna be a fantastic event, Tony. You are in for quite a treat. We've got a lot of stories to tell, a lot of things to share. We're gonna do all the things. You're going to get to, for those of you that are newer in the Timberlane community, you're going to hear all these things and hear from a lot of great people that helped make this happen. It just seems like yesterday that we were doing this for the first time. 2002, we opened this place. 2002. And you know, we use the same lectern. Tony picked this up from Bradford College when it closed. It was one of many deals in his effort to keep things budget friendly. Did you know that a lot of the plantings on the grounds are also his? He did a lot of the planting from family gardens, and I mean, when I say Tony loved this place, Tony, you know, you love this place. There was about a year ago that Tony and I were standing in the lobby, and it was just a typical night, you know? It was a typical night where the community band was coming in and getting ready to practice in the band room. There were private lessons going on, so kids are coming in and out. I think the high school milkmen players, they were working on a milkmen practice that night, and Tony just happened to be in the lobby. I was there picking up one of my kids, and we just started to reminisce, and he just said to me, he said, you know, Brian, this is what I always wanted. It wasn't about the building, although the building is beautiful, but Tony said it was always about the community and this being a center for everything that happens in the community, touching everybody in some way and leaving people with lasting memories, and just being a part of that day-to-day just gem that is the Timberlane community. And Mr. D, if you look around this room right now, we have it. How about a round of applause for that? I serve as the president of the Timberlane Music Association, and looking out in the room, I know that many of you that are in this audience at one time were an active member and volunteer for the Timberlane Music Association. And as you know, our organization is still alive and well. We serve all of our programs K through 12. We have hundreds of students involved in this amazing music program. It's a program that has been successful for years. Mr. D, you were a big part of that and helped grow that along, and I know you would say this, along with many others. But about a year and a half ago, at the Timberlane Music Association, we decided it was time, we were overdue, but it was time to do the right thing and to make the request. And so the Timberlane Music Association crafted a letter to the Timberlane School Board asking them to consider naming this space. And indeed, they considered our request. And we are most thankful, most grateful for them for doing that. So I'd like to bring to the podium to help kick off our program our superintendent of schools, Justin Krieger, and board member and fellow classmate of mine, Shauna Manthorn.
Hey, two quick things, and then I have some prepared remarks for everybody, and Ms. Manthorn will also have some things to share. Tony, that was the first time that I heard your voice on the kind of when the program started, and I really appreciated that I got to hear that today. I'm also an educator in New Hampshire for 20 plus years before I came to Timberlane, And I got to know 5 music educators that I just had so much trust and faith in, both through my work and also my kids attending New Hampshire public schools. When I announced to them that I was coming to Timberlane, all 5 of them called or texted me and told me, Tony, that I was coming to the gold standard of music programming in the state of New Hampshire. And that certainly has not disappointed. I mean, getting up here and watching kids play that are now adults, that are now teaching kids that are going to play tomorrow, I mean, that is a remarkable accomplishment. So thank you for leaving that here with us, Tony. And now we have some pretty official things to share. Tony's contributions to the Timberlane Regional School District are extensive. He started working here in 1987 and retired in 2021. That's touching 5 decades in some part. He first started as the high school band director, but quickly grew the program and assumed some administrative responsibilities. He worked to make the strong band program even more impressive, and under his leadership, the orchestra and the choral programs flourished, and he created the school's first guitar orchestra. He would take that group all over the country to perform, and Timberlane students would annually receive the highest awards. Each year, he and skilled team would transform the high school gymnasium into a theater for a musical annual event. I've heard stories of that type of work here. He created the district's first Tri-M Music Honor Society chapter, and it still runs today. Tony also took a leadership role at the state level, assisting with the growth of the New Hampshire Band Directors Association, at which point he was president. He also played an integral role in NHMEA's refinement of all-state audition process, and he pioneered the Chamber Music Festival, a joint festival between 2 aforementioned organizations. Tony was awarded the Distinguished Music Educator of the Year Award from NHMEA in 2013. For 5 trips over 10 years, he ran the New England Ambassadors in Music, which would take students from across the region to perform throughout Europe. He was the founder of the Timberlane Band, which began as a 20-member community ensemble that has now grown to include the jazz band, performing here this evening, that also performs regionally throughout the year. Through the growth of the music program under Tony's meticulous leadership, he envisioned and manifested to reality this Performing Arts Center. It is a testament to his tenacity and willingness to do anything to provide for the musical growth of students here in the Timberlane Regional School District yesterday, today, and we all know that it's going to happen and continue to happen tomorrow. Thank you so much, Tony.
I hadn't planned on saying anything, but I shared a story with Justin earlier that I think is vital to share with all of you because it speaks to Mr. D. Mr. D was an amazing music educator, but what he taught me was nothing to do with music. It had to do with life. My senior year in high school, we had a beautiful piece of music, and there happened to be a solo. And he had several of us try it out along the way, getting closer to the concert. And 2 days before the concert, he said, "Okay, Shauna, you're gonna do it." I went up to him after class, and when you're a senior in high school and about 5'0" he's like 8 feet tall. Quasi-intimidating. Healthy dose of fear, but I love you, Mr. D. And he was standing there and he had his hand on his hip. You all know what I'm talking about. And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Mr. D, the solo?" "Yeah." I said, "Why me?" He looked down at me, gave me that little side grin that we all know, and he said, "Miss Kate, a more important question to ask yourself is, why not you?" And that is what he has done for the students and all of the people that are sitting in this room. You have empowered us to not just be musicians, but also to be really important and valuable human beings. So thank you for that, Mr. D. It is my honor and privilege to welcome up the DiBartolomeo family.
Thank you very much, Justin and Shauna. I got a phone from one of you, so one of you is going to want that back.
It's not mine, Mr. D. I didn't have my phone in class.
Listen, she was an amazing drum major back in the day, so she kept us all in line. I love that. Thank you both for speaking. All right, so here we go. We're going to start the show, so to speak. We have 3 acts for you. This first act, we're calling it The Folks Who Remember How It Happened. And the first person I'd like to call to the stage to get us started, Mrs. Louise Pajak.
You weren't supposed to do that. I want to thank you all for turning out today to help us celebrate Tony. Tony and I taught here for 31 years at Timberlane. A fair number of those years were spent rehearsing in the lecture hall and band room, then moving acres of equipment on concert days to perform in the gym. In the late 90s, I had a front row seat to all the work Tony did to bring this fabulous space into being. It was a colossal undertaking. Frankly, many folks gave it little chance of success. His ability to create consensus on a project of this magnitude and bring it to fruition was and is nothing short of miraculous. And now, in the 22 years since it opened, an entire generation of Timberlane students has had the chance to play, sing, and act in the venue he dreamed of and toiled to make a reality. The PAC now hosts not only student performances, but is the home of the Timberlane Community Band and the Merrimack Valley Philharmonic, as well as a site for professional performances from Beetlejuice to the Vienna Boys Choir. The artistic and social benefits of this space to the Timberlane community are immeasurable. Naming the auditorium for Tony is the very least we can do. Thank you. So who's ever in the tech booth, can you bring the house lights up a tiny bit, because I'm going to make these people work for a little bit. Because that's who I am. Now I'm going to attempt a very Mr. D moment. Would all Timberlane music teachers, past and present, as well as PAC support staff, stand and be recognized? Stay standing, don't sit down. I am sure you would all agree with working with Tony is fun, just as long as you remember the cardinal rule. No questions before noon. I think we need a retake, but what they said was no questions before noon. Please stay standing. Would all music teachers, studio, private, public, active, and retired, please stand and be recognized? Wow, talk about a top-notch professional learning community. Thank you for honoring our esteemed colleague today. Please stay standing. Would all teachers, support staff, and administrators, past and present, from any and all school districts, as well as past and present members of the Timberlane Music Association, and last but not least, present and former school board and BudCom members, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your visceral support of arts education. You are the glue that made this place a reality. Please be seated. Would all Timberlane alumni, as well as present Timberlane students grades K through 12, stand and be recognized? Mr. D did this for you. Thank you.
If Mr. D were at the podium right now, he would be reminding all of us he had an amazing team of music teachers working with him, and Louise was one of the best herself. I mean, so much of our strings program, we think back to the work that she put into that. Amazing, amazing. So this next person who's coming up to speak, interesting story. Tony, Mr. D would often ask me to come down during class to help out in the band room with different things, just like my kids, my Cameron back there, all the time. He's always here doing stuff. So I would have to go up to my English teacher and get out of English class to come help with stuff. I don't think I ever went to English class. Still got a pretty decent grade from this guy, I think. I would like to invite to the podium next to speak. He was the English teacher back in the day. He was the principal of Timberlane Regional High School, Mr. Don Woodworth.
Thank you. I expected that from Louise, but I didn't expect that from Brian. He got a few B's in the class. I was driving in today, and it was nice. It was sunny, and walked in here, and it seemed to get brighter. It seemed like the stars were out early tonight. The all-stars in the band there, they're shining for you, Tony. All the all-stars. It's actually almost more of a planetarium right now than Tony D. Auditorium. Or maybe that's what is intended to be today. But, I mean, they're like supernovas flying around here. People you don't see that often that are just incredibly attached to the history, not just of the music department, but of our district. So great to see the Herb Levines, the Les Murrays, the Doug McDonalds come back here. And Tony, they do that because they loved you, and they would do anything for you. So much, from the years that have passed. It's a dazzling ceremony today, and it's for you. It's for you to appreciate. And I know you would almost hate to have anything be about you. Talked to you so many times. You're so modest, so giving, so about everybody else. It's so nice to be a part of a group here that had a common bond, which was respect for what was going on here in this district because of Tony and his team. But I guess that's what happens when you grow a music program and a support system like his. By being great, by involving parents, the whole community, by impacting the community through loving kids, giving them opportunities. You and your colleagues, Louise, Eric, Ken, John, all the people you've seen lead groups on our stage for years. People that you just can't imagine could all have worked in one district. How could a district afford, a team like yours? And they're here because I think you recognize, Tony, something special in them. I think you were as good for them as a mentor and a role model as you were for the students, and you were unbelievable, as Shauna pointed out, as a mentor and a guiding light when she was a student. The limits, that we have not even reached yet, I think that was your dream, to think, how far can we push this thing? how great can we be? I think you were unafraid. You showed that you were unafraid to take on big challenges, whether it was bringing people to Symphony Hall, going down, marching in Disney, taking on Les Mis or whatever Eric dreamed up that would be a challenge for you to perform. Being a part of a family here while having such a great family of your own, attracting people who have like a sense of community and a sense of belonging here that stayed the course with you over time. But together, you and your crowd outgrew this building, not this building, the high school building as such as it was regarding music. The Auditorium, whatever it was that we had, it was quite a place, and I loved it there. There were a lot of great basketball games there, Bucky, Ray, I mean, there were a lot of things going on, but it wasn't ideal for concerts. I mean, I remember the humming of the air circulator, the creaking of the wooden stands, little kids in little scooters during the performance. It was bizarre coming from New York, from a town that honored music, to recognize not that we had a terrific band, things were going well, but the facility didn't match the product. And I think that's why we ended up where we did. Your strong will, Tony, your fearlessness, your pursuit of improvement. You showed your colleagues how to be great, and together you made it irresistible to support the projects that involved not just cleaning up the whole district's buildings, but adding this to it. You led by example. You encouraged your students to do hard work, to be leaders, to be proud to be musicians, to love what they do. And they loved you for that. The best program in the state needed a facility that could support the continuing growth that you were promoting here. Tony, it's this simple. From the moment you were hired to the day that you retired, you led and you inspired. Well, thank you for that forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodworth. It's hard to believe, right? So we have about 1,000 students here now. We had about 1,000 students back then when he was talking about this shared space, right? We had far less space over there, but we had to make it work. And one of the friendships, it was a friendship, but one of the relationships that Mr. D had to have, but I think he wanted to have it anyway, was with our athletic director. They had to coordinate so many things to make so many things work so that it would be a basketball game one night and a wrestling match the next night and a band concert the next night, and then, hey, we're going to shut it down and start building musical sets. We'll get to that. We're not there yet. But I'd like to call to the stage right now our former athletic director, Mr. Bucky Tardif.
Get it up. Thank you. It is such an honor to be here tonight for the celebration. It's always difficult to follow Woody, though. I mean, all these years I have to follow him, and he goes on and on about stuff that I'm going to talk about. But what Brian just did say was the friendship that we had. Most places, and you don't see an athletic director and a music director really having the relationship that Tony and I had. We're competing for the same people sometimes. We're competing for space. We're competing for TMA has something. The athletic council has something. But Tony and I, we never competed against each other. We were what we wanted was the best for Timberlane. And we became great friends. I mean, it was a joke. We'd have lunch 4 or 5 times a day, 4 times a week, I should say, going out a day. I'm sorry about that, Mr. Levine. But we would get together. And we would talk together and talk together. And So it finally got to the point where we knew we had to have another thing, and they tried to pass the bond a couple times. Very hard work to do, but we would be out talking all the time, saying, gee, I wish we could have done this, I wish we could have done that. So we decided to go a little rogue, and we decided to see if we go to our superintendent, Doug McDonald, and ask him if he would let us run with it a little bit on our own and do some things that wasn't really conventional. And Doug listened. I think he was a little leery. Pete Taylor wasn't part of that, too. It was three of us. And he said, I'll let you do it on one condition, that you keep in contact with one school board member all the time and let them know what you're doing. And Carol Hall was the one who was our contact person. And at that time, then we started for 10 months. We got town coordinators. We had a registry to register the kids in the high school to vote. We had teas and coffees at the different places. We had met all the adversaries in the district, the people who didn't want it. And we sat down, we talked to them, we took newspaper ads out. And we worked, and we got it passed. And I think up until 5 or 10 years ago, it was the largest bond ever passed in the state of New Hampshire at that particular point. And Tony got his place, which was, he was thrilled. But he wasn't done yet, though. I was done, but he wasn't done. Now, he had to go and design this building and get this building put together. Countless hours. You know, where are we going to have teacher classes? What's the stage going to be like? He took tours all over the place. I think him and Herb went down south sometime to look at different schools and so forth along that. They put hours and hours in coordinating and putting this thing together. And again, finally, it looked like it was all done. I remember him throwing the shovel in when it was groundbreaking, put it in, and I'm saying, he's done. He finally got it all done. No. One more phase. Who's going to run this place? Who's going to do all the rentals? Who's going to hire all the people for the lighting and for the sound? How to fizz that? The class is going to come in here. What room's going to be over here? What room's going to be over there? He had to do that all. And you know what? He was teaching, too. He was still teaching. He was still the band director, too. He was doing all of this at once. An amazing thing for a person to do. Amazing. Again, I look back, and tonight it was kind of gratifying. I see it still carrying on. I see his son Anthony walking around here, doing a lot of things around here with his pride, too. And that's important to all of us. When I think back, 2 words describes Tony. I think Woody hit one of them, is humility. He never wanted to be in the front of things, always in the back, to let someone else get the credit. He didn't care about having the credit. He was that type of guy, and that's the type of guy he is right now. And the second thing is loyalty. His loyalty to this school district is second to none. It was amazing. His loyalty, good times and bad times. Good times and bad times. His loyalty to his students, his loyalty to his staff, all of that is something. And you look now at his family. The loyalty he's passed on to his family, how the loyalty they have to him and he has to them. It's just a wonderful thing. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, school administration, and thank you to the school board for allowing this to happen. Thank you. I'm proud to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tardif. So there was a point in the 90s where we were really busting at the seams. When you leave here today, I want you to take a really good look at the footprint that we used to have for music, because it is tiny. It sits right outside this building. You'll see it. It bumps up above the rest of the building. It is now where the high school library, and I don't even know what's in the band room, tech office, something. That was our footprint. This is about 30 times that footprint. And I remember, so we went 20 years with the same superintendent, and then there was that day when we had a new superintendent coming in. There was a lot of nervousness about, is this new superintendent going to be supportive of the arts? Indeed, he was supportive of the arts. So really, things started to kick into gear. Plans really started to accelerate under the vision and the direction of the next person I'm about to introduce to the podium. Without further ado, I would like to invite to the podium Dr. Douglas McDonald, former superintendent of schools.
What an honor it is for me to be here and to recognize all of Tony's accomplishments. When I came to Timberlane in 1995, the student population was actually rapidly increasing. We went from about 1,000 students to 5 or 6 years later, we had almost 1,600 students at the high school. The population has since gone back to about 1,000. And so instructional space was really at a premium. And so we formed a building committee, and Tony was a part of that building committee. And he was such a strong advocate to ensure that appropriate space for the performing arts was included in the building proposal. He talked about the kids. He talked about the programs. He talked about the impact that music has on children. And as a result of those conversations, we began to formulate the idea that we really did need a performing arts center. And so as a result, we did propose a performing arts center that would meet not only the needs of our students, but also the needs of the community. And we presented that, as Bucky said, in 1999. We were very, very fortunate that we had a visionary school board and a budget committee that supported us. Now, Tony was involved in all aspects of the design, and including the turntable in this theater. District Facilities Manager Pete Taylor had read an article about performing arts centers out in the southwest, that had turntables. And so he brought it to the building committee, and of course, Tony immediately saw the benefit of having a turntable in our performing arts center. And we brought the idea to the board, and the board sent Tony and I out to the southwest to look at a couple. And it became apparent to us in talking with people that they were very easy to operate and would provide this facility a great deal more flexibility. And so we came back to the school board, told them what we found out, and the school board supported adding that to the building project. As Bucky said, the next thing was passing the bond issue. And Tony and Pete Taylor and Bucky Tardif coordinated a community outreach committee that involved many, many people in the community. In fact, many of the people sitting here today in getting the vote out and gaining the support for our facility. You know, they raised, he talked about some of the things they did. I mean, they raised money and ran it as a political action team. They sent out flyers. They made bumper stickers that we passed out. They ran a video on Timberlane TV, and they did everything that was necessary to get the public support. So the bond passed with a 72.9% positive vote. One of the main reasons I think the bond passed was that the Timberlane community was so proud of and recognized the value of our outstanding music and drama programs that had been developed over the year by Tony and the staff here at Timberlane. Once the bond was passed, we had to build it. And Tony, as Bucky said, was involved in all aspects of this construction. It required incredible amount of hours above and beyond his teaching and his administrative responsibilities. And during the renovation of the PAC, the high school and the construction of the PAC, the music program moved to the old library, which had been gutted. And it had unpainted drywalls, an exposed ceiling. It was just really an ideal spot for a music program. And yet, he and the teachers maintained a really quality program throughout that trying time. Student J.C. Coffey commented that the facility is difficult to work in, even for Mr. D, who's as tough as a $2 steak. In 2001, the construction on the PAC was halted because we ran out of money. And we had to go back to the voters and ask for another $1.5 million. Unfortunately, the community continued to support us, and we got the additional funds, and construction was resumed. Now, under Tony's leadership, the music department raised thousands of dollars to purchase equipment that could not be included in the bond. This included the grand piano and the podium, which, as Brian said, we went to an auction at Bradford College. We only had so much money. We were bidding on the piano. We were really concerned that we were going to get it. We reached our maximum amount of money we had, and the bidding stopped, and we got the piano. Finally, we had the grand opening in November of 2002, and Tony took on the additional responsibilities of now being the director of the PAC. He was charged with overseeing the use of the building, from scheduling classes, student activities and ceremonies, to ticket sales, to booking concerts and community events. Tony did it all. He made the PAC a success. The recognition today of Tony's dedication and commitment to the performing arts in the Timberlane Regional School District is well deserved. Tony has impacted the lives of so many of us, and he's made a positive difference in the lives of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of his students. So thank you, Tony, for all that you've done, and congratulations.
Thank you, Dr. McDonald. That was fantastic. So there's one more piece, we get one more perspective to get from this part of our story, and that's going to come from retired Timberlane music teacher, Deborah Lincoln.
I'm glad there has been so much up and down today. It has limbered up my knees so that I could make it here. I'm representing the retired elementary school music educators who had the good fortune of working with Tony for so many years. Tony retired during the pandemic, and nobody was getting out to socialize or visit with anybody else. And the five of us elementary girls who worked together, that would be Gretchen Bird, Joyce Peavy, Susan Quigley, Marjorie Nelson, and myself. We just really felt that we needed to contact each other and talk about Tony and reminisce about all the good things he had done, because he had accomplished so much in his storied career, and not only for the state of New Hampshire, but more importantly for us here at Timberlane. So we got together and we reminisced about all the things we had been through together, and we decided we should write our memories down and share them with Tony. But we decided that we would begin with a little tiny paragraph that was inspired by an old article from Early Years magazine, and the article was titled "Teachers and Tuning Forks." And it just kind of spoke to us about how we viewed Tony and our relationship with him. So with your indulgence, I will read our little introductory paragraph to all of our memories. I promise I will not bore you with all the memories. You can meet Ken and I out in the lobby, and we'll tell you all that later. But anyway, Tony, A440 is the basic note around which pianos and all musical instruments are tuned. Every note we hear is related to that A. It is a musical authority, the rock upon which the music scale is built, and A is constant. And all of us girls thought that much like the A and the tuning fork which produces it, Tony, you have been our A, our constant. You have been the center, the core of the music department, and not for the recognition or the glory, but to make sure that that A rings true for all of Timberlane's children. You have made sure that every child has had a chance to make music and be a part of a musical group, whether it be a classroom musical group or a performing group. And you have made sure that we as elementary music teachers had the tools and the support to help make that happen. So today at this amazing event where we all celebrate Tony and all his accomplishments, we want to thank you, Tony, for being our A, our constant, our foundation upon which Timberlane's own musical scale has been built. Mwah.
Thank you, Mrs. Lincoln. That was great. So now we're going to transition into Act 2. And in Act 2, we have a bit of a different storyline because everything we've been talking about thus far has been around our music program, which is a fantastic program. But if you can believe it, it was actually the theater program that potentially catapulted what became the need for this space. So we've got to take you back several years in Timberlane players' history. Now, where are all of our current and former Timberlane players? Would you please stand for a second so we can see where you all are? There are a lot of you. The Timberlane players are alive and well under the direction of Timberlane alum Michael Castano. More on that in a bit, but I got to take you back because Mr. Woodworth started this off. He talked about the gymatorium space, right? Because it was the gymnasium, but it also had a stage with curtains, thus allowing it to be a place for us to do performances. Very difficult to do a musical, though. And that's where everything came together, right? This amazing juggernaut of a program with theater and a pit and dancing and all of those things coming together. And it was really hard to do that in a gymnasium. So we've got some people here to talk to you about how they built the Performing Arts Center in the gymnasium back many, many years ago. So to kick things off, we have another former Timberlane High School principal, also retired superintendent of schools from Salem, Mass., Dr. Herb Levine.
You had to give me a standing ovation. I mean, everybody else got one. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be here. I go back a long way with Tony. We go back to 1988. By the way, Woody, if I had known you spoke so well, I would have had you speak at my retirement party. Did a really good job. Bucky, you too. And you did eat 4 or 5 lunches a day. I know you did. Anytime I needed to find you, I just smelled you. The food I'm talking about. Every now and again, the planets come together, the stars come together, and you get something special. That's what happened here at Timberlane in 1988, when a group of individuals, talented, hardworking, wonderful individuals, came together as a team and created something truly special. That team gave birth to the Timberlane Regional High School musical. If I remember correctly, the first one was Pippin. Who was it? What's that? I had nothing to do with it. No, all I did was get the money. I went to see the superintendent at the time, longtime superintendent Terry Holmes, and I said, we want to do this musical thing. And he said, what musical thing? And I said, I need $15,000. And he said, okay. That's literally how the conversation went. So I went back to Eric, who had said to me when I brought up the idea of having a musical, and he said, that's never going to happen. I went back to Eric and said, I got you the money. And he said, okay. And then out of the woodwork came George Haskins, and he said, I'll build your sets for you. And we said, okay. And then we saw Phil and Kate in the art room, and they said they wanted to be part of it, and we said, okay. And Bucky was part of it because he made sure that the Auditorium was available and created the stage for us so that we could find time to practice. And we said, okay. Yeah, Skip Toady offered any of his services for technology. And we said, okay. And we thought we had it all done. And that was it. And then we said, well, wait a minute. We're having a musical. We need music. So we went to see Tony, and we said, Tony, we're thinking of this musical thing. And he said, what musical thing? And we explained it to him, and he said, okay, I'm in. And he said, what do you need from me? And then we said, the music. So here we are today, standing in the house that Tony built from an idea and hard work of so many people, including many volunteers from the community. I don't know where they all are today. I'm sure some of them are still around here, but we couldn't have done it without literally hundreds of people. They all came together and worked toward one goal, and that was to enrich the lives of kids, which has always been the goal of the people that I worked with here at Timberlane. So I want Tony to know that he's on my Mount Rushmore of one of the greatest people that I've ever had the privilege of working with and knowing. Tony and I have kept in touch with each other throughout the years, and I want to say about Tony what I know about Tony, and that is that his hard work, professionalism, and talent brought us to where we are today, but more importantly, his dignity, his class, his grace, and his humanity is what really kept it all going forward. So Tony, to you, I love you and your family. I've known you for a long time, buddy. You will impact and enrich students' lives who aren't even born yet. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Levine. So this whole notion of we're going to take over the gym and start building a performing arts center so that we can do this one musical, it became a thing. How many of you saw some of the musicals that were in the gymnasium? Go ahead, give a round of applause if you did, right? So you remember this, those of you that were not here, all I can tell you is when I say 360-degree floor to ceiling theater, that's what you walked into. If we did My Fair Lady, you walked under London Bridge and you were in London. And there was stadium seating to sit in. There was a tech booth. Now picture this. I think it was My Fair Lady, but it might have been Guys and Dolls. No, she knows what I'm going to say. It was My Fair Lady. I was a freshman, and I remember looking at the pit. Now, here, I'm actually standing over the pit right now, right? So the pit's right underneath me now. This is what we do. That's not what we did back then. So the pit was so high up. They were behind the set, but so high up that all you could see was the top of Mrs. Pajak's head, about 3 inches above the rafters, right? She could touch the rafters. That's how high up they were. Now, I don't think they could get away with that now. However, back then, a lot of this was the work of Dr. Levine mentioned King George Haskins. We're going to invite him next to the stage to talk a little bit about his experience and Mr. D. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is a very great honor to be asked to be here today. You're probably going to hear some similar things to what's already been said, but I'm going to take you back to the 1980s. That's where we're going to start. And thank you, Louise, for making sure I was here. Appreciate that. In 1983, Linda and I and our family moved into our home in Plastow. We remained residents of the Timberlane District until 1995. Our children, Amanda and Taylor, grew up in the district. Our grandchildren graduated from Timberlane Regional High School. We were here the year Tony was hired. Little did we know how blessed the Timberlane District would be by Tony's presence. Over the ensuing years, I had the opportunity to spend many hours with Tony when I was the president of TMA and subsequently when I became a member and chairman of the school board. There are a lot of other things I did with Tony, and if I tried to tell you everything that we did together, it would still be here tomorrow. So, I'm sorry. I also relished the time I spent with Tony, Eric, and Louise planning and creating the musicals. Thank you, Herb, for insisting we needed to have that musical. What a wonderful time working with all the volunteers, the students, and professionals from our schools, of course. When I asked Tony and Eric if they would like to perform Kiss Me, Kate in a 1/5 scale model of the Globe Theater, I'm certain they thought I was certifiable. I very fondly remember our first production, Pippin, Herb. Our dance routine wasn't that bad. Followed by Kiss Me, Kate, Mame, Anything Goes, My Fair Lady, and Guys and Dolls. And what a time we had. I'm just injecting there. I also had the opportunity to come back by request to help with the set on Sweeney Todd, and I designed the chair and the slide. Thank you. And Tony kept saying, "Are you sure that's going to be safe? Are you sure that's going to be safe?" Tony, it's going to be fine. If I can put Louise up there, I can put a slide down there. So in order for him to be sure, I said, "Come upstairs with me up on the platform." He came up and said, "Slide." And he slid. Hold on one second. I'm losing my place as I'm trying to improvise a few things here. Not too long after Tony's arrival at Timberlane, it became abundantly clear that Tony is a special person who was always dedicated to engaging as many students as possible in the arts and specifically in music. Unfortunately, the facilities, frankly, were not reflective of the level of commitment Tony had to teaching and sharing the arts with our students. I and many other residents in the district knew something needed to be done, and Tony knew it needed to be made an imperative. And so the quest began. We spent quite literally months and ultimately years meeting, discussing, planning, lobbying, and encouraging anyone who would listen about the need for a quality performance center. Of course, Tony was always at the forefront of that fight. We talked about many different possibilities. Could we fill in the area between the high school and the middle school? Could we renovate and enlarge an area of the existing high school building? Could we displace space for certain activities and add space in another area? How large should the performance facility be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Once we had what seemed to be a workable plan, it was time to see if we could get the funding needed. Convincing the district that a performance center was needed was difficult, but asking for the money often seemed like an impossible task. However, Tony kept us all on point. We determined the amount needed and we prepared the request for the funding. We were all very hopeful and excited. Well, the district voted and we lost by about 60 votes. It was heartbreaking. Of course, that didn't stop Tony from continuing to try to get it done because he knew it was something very important for our children and our district. We tried a second time, and unfortunately, again, we did not get a positive vote. Following that time, my work required me to move out of the district. However, I tried to stay in touch with the happenings, and sometime later, when I heard the PAC was going to be a reality, I knew it was because Tony never gave up. Because that's Tony, he never gives up for the things he believes is right. And that is the essence of Tony. When he knew something was right for the students, he would never give up. And that is why the Timberlane District is so very lucky to have had Tony here and to have this incredibly beneficial and beautiful facility. Although many people worked hard to make the PAC a reality, make no mistake about it, without Tony's commitment to the students and to the arts, the PAC certainly would not exist today. I believe the recognition Tony is receiving today is the very least he deserves for accomplishing not only the PAC, but for building and sustaining the Timberlane District Arts Program. Throughout the many years of his career, everyone who has lived, does live, or will live in the Timberlane District owes Tony a debt of gratitude for not only the PAC, but for his contribution to the children of the community. Tony, I hold our friendship dear to my heart. And I am proud to be here to say thank you for everything you've done for me, my children, my grandchildren, and this district, and simply thank you for who you are.
Thank you, Mr. Haskins. And there's one final speaker in this second of our 3 acts. How could we have a conversation about musicals and drama if we don't recognize and hear from our former Timberlane Players drama director from 1987 to 2023, Mr. Eric C. Constantino.
Hi, everyone. Here I am in my backyard here in Colorado. I sure wish I could be with everyone today and reminisce and laugh and celebrate. But sure is a pretty nice place to be, sending you this message. I remember probably most distinctly when we opened the PAC back over 20 years ago. The first musical number we presented. Tony, you were standing behind the first section of the audience. The stage was packed with musicians. You raised your arms, and then Aaron Copland's Fanfare for the Common Man just filled the space. And that was the first note of so many memories that we made in that building. Today we're here to celebrate another fanfare for an incredibly uncommon man. Now, I'm so glad that your name will be above the auditorium. Hell, the whole PAC should be named after you. But I think there's something more important than your name over that door, even though it's important and fitting and just, because your name is emblazoned in the hearts and minds and souls of hundreds and hundreds of teachers and especially students that you have touched and you have taught and you have imparted your lessons way beyond music. I remember you saying one time you didn't teach music, you taught kids, and truer words were never said. You taught kids not just about taking pride in their music, but taking pride in themselves, to look at everything with eyes with pride. And I think the greatest tribute to you, sir, is the fact that people are being influenced by you who you will never meet in your life because of your students who you have given so much to, who have taken your message of respect, of professionalism, of love for craft, of love for self, and they imparted your words and your example to them. Your influence will carry on for countless years, long after this building. This building isn't made of bricks and mortar. It was built by you, one student at a time, student by student, who learned from you, who you set the example for, and those kids, year after year after year, decade after decade after decade, would willingly walk through fire for you because they knew what you were teaching them were life lessons, lessons that would get them not just a job, not just a great grade point average, not even a great profession, but a way to live their life with dignity and pride. I am the teacher who I am. I am the human being that I am, in part because of your influence. I always thought, okay, how would Tony approach this? How would Tony deal with this student? And also, how would I deal with something not even related to students, but what dignity would I bring to the situation? What patience would I bring to the situation? All of those things you gave me, Tony. Now, I do have to say that every human being, no matter how amazing they are, does have a flaw. And you, sir, do have one flaw, and it's this. No self-respecting Italian or Sicilian would put orzo in their wedding soup. But if that's your only flaw, my friend, you've done a pretty damn good job. Tony, I miss you so much. And I wish you were sitting on this bench right next to me so we can talk story for hours about every musical we did, every time we laughed, every time we just stood back and watched our kids shine on stage. Your name, your influence, your love will live on in me forever and will live on in every person you have touched. God bless you, my compare. I'll see you soon.
Can't forget, won't regret. See, that was phenomenal. But this is why we're all here tonight. He's touched so many of our lives. And it's generationalized. How many of us here have our kids and our grandkids? We've heard this over and over again, getting a chance to experience and be a part of this amazing thing, of which, again, Mr. D, I know you will say it, I wasn't the only one. You're right, you weren't, but you had a vision. And it was an amazing vision. And everything everybody has said thus far is absolutely right, and we're here to celebrate you. So now we move to this third and final act, the folks paying it forward. The first person we're going to hear from tonight, Timberlane alum from the class of 2000, also a classmate of mine, a few years later, Dr. Michael Callahan.
Hi, Mr. D. I so wish I could be here in person today. Congratulations on the well-deserved honor of having this space where you changed so many lives, including mine, named after you.
The teacher's legacy is more important than just a building, even a building as beautiful and transformational as the PAC. A teacher's legacy is people. The very best teachers, like you, change what is possible for their students. To teach is to change the future, one person at a time. I've been a teacher myself for 20 years now. I aspire to do for my students what you did for me. I want to share 5 truths about your teaching that imprinted on me and that still serve as navigational aids for me in my own teaching every day. Number one, we teach people, not just music. The level of respect and care that you showed for every student, the interest you took in each person's whole self, not just their trombone playing, but their schoolwork, their sense of community, their family, their mood, how their softball team was doing, the joy you showed in working with them, and how seriously you took them, did not depend at all on how talented they were, how seriously they took band, or even how much respect they gave you. All of us felt important and valued in your classroom because we were. Number two, every lesson is a life lesson. You taught me so much about music, but that is the tip of the iceberg. I was helping you set up for one of the many concerts in the high school gym, and I was struggling to move a very heavy acoustic shell because, as it turned out, the wheel lock was still on. As you disengaged the lock, you smiled and quipped, "Michael, you don't need to be stronger than 600 pounds of cinder blocks. You just need to be smarter than 600 pounds of cinder blocks." That lesson, both hilarious and profound, still reverberates in my daily life. Number three, teachers are still teaching even when they're not meaning to. You taught me so much during times when you didn't think that I was watching. I observed the respect and gratitude that you gave to every custodian in the high school and to every parking attendant at football games. How you remembered the name and face of every parent and every younger sibling, and how you deflected compliments by giving the credit to your students. You weren't doing it to perform, of course. You were doing it because that's who you are. But I was watching and learning. Number four, sometimes the best learning takes place when students are uncomfortable. You had an uncanny ability to gently make me do things that I didn't know how to do. You made me drum major, giving a big, loud leadership role to a very shy, introverted kid. In my freshman year, 6 weeks before South Pacific opened, you handed me the clarinet book and told me I'd be playing in the pit. Concerned, I said, "But I don't play clarinet, Mr. D." Your deadpan response came with a smirk. "You do now, Michael. You showed me every day that it's okay to be smart and interested, but that it is not enough to be smart and interested. You taught me to find new challenges and work hard at them. This was an incredible gift to me at exactly the right time in my life." And finally, number five, no one ever stops being your student. Here's what I wrote in my Timberlane senior thank you 24 years ago this week. "I owe a giant thank you to Mr. D, whose dedication to teaching and to me has left me inspired to teach, and it's every bit as true now. As your students, like me, become teachers, and then some of our students become teachers, and so on, your legacy is both eternal and constantly renewed. Thank you for being the most important teacher in my life, but also thank you for the huge influence that you've had on thousands of my students whom you've never met. I am forever grateful to have been, and still to be, your student."
It's getting harder to MC this event. Thank you, Dr. Callahan. Now the Associate Professor of Music and Theory Chair at Michigan State, by the way. Kind of cool. Actually, we've got a lot of people that have gone on to do some amazing things with music, and a lot of them, Michael said it best. Next to the podium, we've got a couple of presentations with some awards. I'd like to invite Jim Robbins, president of the New Hampshire Band Directors Association, also the band director at Hampstead Middle School. Jim?
Thank you, Brian. As Brian said, my name's Jim Robbins, and I am not an alumnus of Timberlane High School. I did, however, teach private lessons here for a while, and I'm the band director next door in Hampstead. Like many of us assembled here today, my musical life has been influenced and deeply impacted by Mr. D. As a college student at UNH in the late 90s, I was well aware of his influence and educational prowess in the state of New Hampshire. I was fortunate to watch Tony work his musical magic and experience that larger-than-life personality while working at the Summer Youth Music School for years. After entering the band director world, Tony trusted me to work at the Timberlane Band Summer Camp, during which he gave me many opportunities to hone my skills on the podium while offering candid observations on how I could improve as an educator myself. Over the years, he was a constant influence and significantly more than the fraction I hope I could have been when I had the pleasure of teaching Angela at Sims and Andrew as a private euphonium student. As influential as Tony has been in my life, my true purpose here today is to speak on behalf of the New Hampshire Band Directors Association, an organization for which I'm proud to serve as president. Founded in 1994 with the purpose of promoting band education in the state of New Hampshire and providing a platform for the sharing of ideas and teaching strategies for the state's band directors, Tony was an integral member. Not only did he serve as a board member, including a stint as president from 1997 to 1999, but he created a unicorn in the world of band festivals. Without Tony's vision, the All-State Chamber Festival, one of, if not the only festival of its kind in the country, would not exist. Placing all-state musicians in smaller chamber ensembles and making them solely responsible for their part provided countless students across New Hampshire with an unmatched musical experience. Along with his tireless work with the Chamber Festival, Mr. D was always working for NHBDA as an advocate for band education. While students may have never experienced Tony's wisdom firsthand, it is without doubt that through his work with Chamberfest and other NHBDA activities, his influence has reached tens of thousands of New Hampshire band kids outside of Timberlane throughout his career. So on behalf of the New Hampshire Band Directors Association, I'm honored to present this plaque to Tony and his family that reads, Lifetime Achievement Award, Anthony DiBartolomeo, presented in honor and recognition of his profound importance to the quality and betterment of bands, band directors, and students in New Hampshire and beyond. His contribution to music education will endure for generations.
Jim, I know you said you weren't a Timberlane alum, but you are a member of the Timberlane community. Everybody in this room is a member of the Timberlane community and has been touched by Mr. D in some way, and that was great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Next to the podium, I am going to invite another Timberlane alum, this one, class of 2001, Andrea Von Oyen, president of the New Hampshire, I hope I pronounced that right. I did, okay. President of the New Hampshire Music Educators Association and also the orchestra director for Oyster River Middle and High Schools in Durham.
Hello everyone, as Brian said, I'm Andrea Von Oyen, formerly Andrea Passanisi, when I attended Timberlane High School and graduated in 2001, and I'm the president of the New Hampshire Music Educators Association. The New Hampshire Music Educators Association gives a Service to the Profession Award to individuals who give themselves and their time to the music teaching profession in a big way. And I think we can all agree that Mr. D 100% exemplifies this. Throughout his years being involved in music education in New Hampshire, Tony has had an enormous impact in many areas. He recognized the need for and implemented changes in our all-state auditions processes that have made these auditions more accessible and relevant to our students. These changes continue to help guide our auditions processes to this day. He also created the NHBDA NHMEA Chamber Festival with the intention of giving our students a high-level chamber music experience, as Jim said. It allowed our musicians to gain different skill set than the larger all-state festival they may have attended. This festival pulls in clinicians from all over the country and allows our students to learn from expert directors outside of their own music classrooms, and the festival also still runs successfully today. Tony has also been an advisor and mentor to so many music educators, advising them on career decisions and choices they've had to make. On a personal note, Mr. D, you have been incredibly influential in my own life, both when I was a Timberlane student and as a music educator. When I attended Timberlane, I was a violinist, so I didn't have Mr. D as a direct teacher. However, he knew all of us. He made it his goal to learn about all of the students in the music department and encourage them to be the best that they could be. I remember the first music educators conference I attended where I was side by side Tony as colleagues rather than in a teacher-student role. There was a reception for attendees at the Puritan Back Room in Manchester, and Tony bought me a celebratory drink. I remember having this incredible feeling of being proud to be in this profession and alongside my teachers. You never shied away from giving me a great big Italian to another Italian hug and, hello, Miss Passanisi, in that authoritative voice of yours. Thank you for being someone who encouraged me and so many of my peers that this is an honorable, good, and worthy profession. And I'd like to invite my immediate past president, Ed Doyle, to present our award.
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Mr. D, for all that you've done and the ripple effect across the state. So, as the plaque reads, Anthony J. DiBartolomeo, in appreciation of your decades of service to the New Hampshire Music Educators Association, including your refinement of the all-state auditions process, introduction of the Chamber Music Festival, and positive mentorship of countless educators throughout the state, NHMEA recognizes you with the 2024 Service to the Profession Award.
I was like, I think the screen's coming down. Now we are in for a little treat. So the family has put together a video presentation for all of us from the family, just to kind of celebrate this journey.
High school holiday concert. I welcome you to the middle school gymnasium. We do apologize, our seating is somewhat limited compared to the high school, and we are now at standing room only for tonight's event. Boy, one good auditorium in this school district would make a world of difference.
My name is Tony DiBartolomeo. I'm the Director of Music for the Timberlane Regional School System, and welcome to our gymnasium. You're all, I'm sure, extremely comfortable as you've been for the last 30 years in those bleachers, for those of us that manipulate the bleachers so well and put up with these hard chairs and the gorgeous sight lines and the wonderful acoustics and everything else that makes this a gym. It's a facility that, again, maybe isn't what we wanted, but it is what we need. And we need it because our art, not art, but music and drama programs have grown so explosively over the last 5 to 7 years without a home. My name is Tony DiBartolomeo. I'm the producer for this year's production of My Fair Lady. My job basically is to assist both the musical director and the director and the set construction person and make sure they have everything they need when they need it, pay the bills, and try to keep everyone happy as much as possible. This year's production is going to be happening on May 12th, 13th, and 14th in the high school gymnasium. at 7:30. It's really quite a bargain to come and see the number of students that we have and the talents that we have going on here at Timberlane during this production. We've got a marvelous set. We've done the best we could to transform the gymnasium into a theater, thanks to all the effort and hard work of many of the adult parent volunteers that we have. And all total, we probably have well over 100 people involved with this production. And we're very proud and pleased how things are going, and we would like to invite you all to come and be part of it. That's 12th, 13th, and 14th of May up at the high school. If you need any more information, give me a call at 382-4180, and I'll be glad to help you out.
3, 2, 1, shoot down.
Support this program, that would be wonderful for the students and for the community of Timberlane. It's been a long time coming. We've never really had a performance space or a facility of our own, and it's time.
Good evening, and welcome to the Timberlane Performing Arts Center. We have waited quite a long time for those words to be spoken. Tonight is an evening to celebrate the wonder of the performing arts, from every performer's first tentative attempts to create to their more confident understanding that the notes on the page, the words in the script, and the patterns of movement on the stage can be turned into music, drama, and dance. Our stages await, our classrooms await. They are ready to gain the luster of years of accomplishment, joy, sweat and tears, dreams, and the greatest gift of all, the sharing of one's talent with others. The time is right to bear witness to our future and to see our collective dream become a reality. This hall has been called to life by a fanfare that celebrates the opening of a house of dreams. May all of our shared dreams begin tonight, and may they give life to our Performing Arts Center.
That was pretty phenomenal. Mostly the work of Andrew. Congrats, that was amazing. I'd like to invite Dr. Angela DiBartolomeo to the podium to say a few words.
Thank you. I don't have anything formally written like everybody else does, so we're gonna wing it. But I think what I was thinking while I was watching that video is a quote from The Office. You know which one I'm gonna say, so you never know you're in the good old days until you're actually in them, or it's something along those lines, you know. Those good old days are every day, you know. Every day that you come in and you see a rehearsal and it's just a bunch of sixth graders who then you turn around and they're 12th graders, and then they're going on to be music majors, and then they have their own students. That's really been a common theme here, is fostering that love. And fostering that love comes from a lot of places. It's of course, my dad has the dedication to professionalism and humility and grace and everything that everybody has spoken about so eloquently so far, but also every decision that he made throughout his entire career, and even still when he teaches lessons and anything he's able to do, every decision comes back to what's in the best interests of the students. What would benefit the students the most? What is in the best interest of the students? And that's not just, well, we want to have a performing arts center because it stinks to be in a band room that just has, you know, sheetrock and dust. And it's not for his own ego. It wasn't for the teachers. His every decision as a teacher and as an administrator, and that's what made him the hub of the wheel of, you know, to create the best music program in the state of New Hampshire. And that legacy comes back to every decision was what's in the best interests of the students. And the best interest of the students was to create the gym, to transform the gym. I know everybody's spoken about it, and you saw some clips from that video. Also, Andrew did that video single-handedly. He's worked, you know, incredibly hard these past few days. But what's in the best interest of the students? From what piece are we going to play with the wind ensemble? Should we have a chamber program? Should we have a chamber all-state? Should we go to Europe every few summers and bring these kids from New Hampshire that have never left, you know, New England over to Europe for 17 days? I know that's not PAC related, but it still comes back to what is in the best interest of the students. Every single decision, every single day. He was here 7:30 a.m. and didn't leave until 7:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and then also, of course, was in on the weekends. And I know because he was my ride, so I was also here. I was also here 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. every single day, and longer, of course, on performance days. So that's really the ethos of all of it. It's the central hub is what is in the best interest of the students, and that's what creates that legacy, and that's what has created such the program that there is today. And thank you so much to everybody that has put this event together in such a short time frame. I can't express to you enough how I knew I was pulling together an A-team of folks that would just make it happen, and this was incredible. I can't thank you enough. I won't itemize everybody, but I appreciate you, and I love you, and my dad loves you. He loves you. Everybody that has come to visit him the last few months, he says, I love you. And he wasn't a big I love you person, but he loves you. Everybody here. Love him back. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, Mr. D, your vision is alive and well, and it will continue to be for many, many years, because this is the house you helped build. You were a big part of it. You had a big impact on so many of us, and we love you so much. A couple logistical things. Just to like separate here. We have some amazing people to thank, so many people to thank. Angela's right, we had so many people step up and do so many things behind the scenes to make this happen. Mrs. Pajak, I want to thank her personally. Mrs. Pajak does what she does. She took the lead, and she likes to be right behind the scenes, but making sure everything works the way it's supposed to. All of us that spoke, myself included, we knew exactly what was going to happen because she planned the whole thing. So how about a round of applause for Mrs. Pajak? To all of our speakers, thank you for adding to this story and helping everybody here understand the gravity of Mr. D and what he brought to this program. So thank you for that. Mr. Schweiss and his staff, Lynn, Lisa, all of our current music, would all of our current Timberlane music teachers please stand for a minute? We've got so Mr. Schweiss and his crew, thank you. Mr. Schweiss and his crew really took the lead on a lot of the logistics in making today happen. We owe them a debt of gratitude. How about to all of our musicians that played for us as well? And actually, musicians, this is your set. You still have one more to go, do you not? Oh, okay. They're back there. So they're going to be coming out in I just wanted to make sure they were already moving. So we want to thank them. The other group that I want to thank, and I'm sure I'm going to miss a lot of people, but I do want to thank, we've got a number of staff members and students running the booth right now. So Anthony can be down here with his siblings, which is fantastic. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to hear us or see us. While our musicians are setting up for one last song, I am going to ask if the speakers and the family would just exit to the chorus hall just to have a few minutes together. That would be great. We have one more number for you, and then I've got one more thing to say after that.
Anna Cronin is joining us on piano, class of 2017. And I've been replaced on drums. I just saw in the audience a good friend. He was a senior, Mr. D's first year here. He's a music teacher. His name is Rob Fogg on the drums. Let's welcome him. Another appropriate tune, The Days of Wine and Roses.
What a way to kick off a performance, the first performance in the DeBartolomeo Auditorium. Thank you very much for doing that. Now, albeit it's still temporary, we worked quickly, but you can see our temporary signage and plaque out in the lobby. We expect the signage to come in probably in the next week or so. The plaque will take a little bit longer, but thank you already to those that have donated. On behalf of the family, I want to thank you if you donated. If you didn't and you'd like to do that to help us out, we'll certainly take that. At this point, we're raising funds that will become part of a scholarship fund for future music students, and our Venmo information for Timberlane Music Association is out there. We'd also, I'm sure, a lot of you haven't seen each other in a while and would like an opportunity to chat. And you know, Dr. McDonald's already stepped out. You'll see him in a bit. But there were a lot of great things we did at this building. One of the things we didn't do well is we had a lot of budget cuts to make on the board in the end, and the band room became part of our lobby. Our lobby is just not big enough to accommodate crowds, especially when we have things like this. So all of the refreshments are in the cafeteria, which if you walk out this door and to the right, you can make a straight shot down through the school to get to the cafeteria. But on behalf of the family, on behalf of the school district, we thank you very much for joining us. And Mr. D thanks you as well. Take care.